Her dream was simple: to become a dancer. She was beautiful, intelligent, and determined to turn that dream into reality. But fate had other plans, and she never got the chance to fulfill it. What happened to her, and who took away her future? Let's uncover the truth in today's true crime story. Beth-Ellen Vinson was 17 years old and grew up in a small town in North Carolina, where dancing shaped nearly every part of her life. From childhood, she dedicated countless hours to learning new routines, refining her technique, and preparing for competitions. Her commitment brought impressive results, earning her numerous dance awards that reflected both her talent and determination. Beyond the stage, she also gained recognition as a beauty queen, adding another achievement to an already promising future. Family members remembered Beth-Ellen as outgoing, humorous, caring, and deeply committed to the people she loved. She approached life with confidence and believed hard work would eventually lead her towards success. Her father often recalled how excited she became after dance lessons, eagerly demonstrating every new routine she had learned. Those moments captured the enthusiasm that defined her personality and revealed how completely she embraced her dream. Beth-Ellen believed she was destined for Broadway in New York City. She imagined performing before large audiences and becoming a successful professional dancer. That ambition made her increasingly restless in her hometown, where she felt her opportunities were limited. She wanted to begin building the future she envisioned, without waiting any longer. During the summer of 1994, shortly before beginning her senior year of high school, Beth-Ellen decided to leave home despite her parents' objections. Her mother warned that leaving so soon was a mistake, hoping she would reconsider. Her parents even offered to help her move to New York after she finished high school, believing graduation would provide a stronger foundation for her future. Beth-Ellen appreciated their concern but remained determined to follow her own path immediately. That decision eventually led her toward Raleigh, where the course of her life would change forever. Beth-Ellen Vinson moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, in July 1994 with a clear objective. She wanted to earn enough money to continue her journey toward New York City and pursue her dream of becoming a professional dancer. Leaving home had been difficult, but she believed this step would bring her closer to the future she imagined. After arriving in Raleigh, Beth-Ellen shared an apartment with her boyfriend, Rick Heath. Like many young people starting independent lives, she needed steady income to cover daily living expenses while saving money for the next stage of her plans. She looked for work that could provide those earnings as quickly as possible. Beth-Ellen eventually began working for the Class Act escort service, which was based in Virginia Beach. According to available information, she told the service that she was 18 years old, although she was actually only 17. Her assignments involved providing private dances for clients who contacted the escort service. At the same time, she told her parents she was working at a grocery store, choosing not to reveal the truth about her employment. After Beth-Ellen disappeared, her family learned about the escort job for the first time. The discovery had a profound emotional impact, especially on her mother, who later described feeling devastated because the reality conflicted with everything the family believed Beth-Ellen had been doing. Even so, available information indicates that Beth-Ellen never viewed the escort service as her long-term future. Instead, she considered it temporary financial support that would help her save money, continue toward New York City, and keep pursuing the dance career she had always wanted. Beth-Ellen Vinson spent the early morning hours of August 16, 1994, at the apartment with Rick Heath. The two were watching the movie Basic Instinct when the Class Act escort service contacted her with a new assignment. The request directed her to the Innkeeper Motel on Capitol Boulevard, where she was expected to meet a client. At approximately 2:30 a.m., Beth-Ellen got ready to leave. She said goodbye to Rick, walked out of the apartment, and drove away in her white 1990 Mazda 626. It would be the last time anyone close to her confirmed seeing her alive. According to investigators, her destination was room 1118 at the motel, where the client had requested an escort through the service. The client was described as a middle-aged man from Myrtle Beach. Investigators learned that he had reportedly spent the evening drinking heavily, using drugs, and contacting several escort services before arranging the meeting. When detectives later interviewed him, he was unable to clearly remember whether Beth-Ellen had ever arrived at the motel. His limited recollection made it impossible to confirm the planned meeting through his testimony alone. As investigators reconstructed the timeline, they examined the available evidence and compared witness statements with known movements that night. Their findings ultimately led them to believe Beth-Ellen most likely never reached the innkeeper motel. The expected meeting in room 118 therefore became an important point in understanding the final hours before her disappearance. After leaving the apartment in the early morning darkness, Beth-Ellen never returned home. No verified sightings placed her alive after she drove away, and every confirmed event in the timeline ended with her departure. From that moment forward, her whereabouts became unknown, marking the beginning of a case that would leave investigators searching for answers. Around 5:30 a.m. on August 16, 1994, an employee arriving at a used car dealership discovered a white 1990 Mazda 626 blocking the entrance to the business. Recognizing that the vehicle had been left in an unusual position, the employee contacted police to report the situation. Officers responded and quickly confirmed that the car belonged to Beth-Ellen Vinson, who had failed to return home earlier that morning. As investigators examined the vehicle, several details immediately attracted their attention. The windows were rolled down, the radio was still playing, and one of Beth-Ellen's shoes was lying beside the driver's side of the car. Together, these observations suggested that something unexpected had interrupted whatever had happened at that location. The condition of the vehicle did not appear consistent with an ordinary parking situation, leading officers to treat the scene with increasing caution. While police were processing the abandoned car, Rick Heath unexpectedly arrived at the dealership. He explained that Beth-Ellen had never returned home after leaving for her assignment, and that he was searching for her. Detectives documented his presence and his account of the night's events as part of the developing investigation. Investigators later regarded Rick's arrival as noteworthy because the dealership was not located along the normal route Beth-Ellen would have taken to reach the innkeeper motel, where she had planned to meet a client. That detail raised additional questions about how her vehicle had ended up there. At first, officers handled the situation as a missing person investigation, hoping Beth-Ellen would soon be located safely. However, as they continued examining the vehicle and evaluating the circumstances surrounding its discovery, investigators became increasingly convinced that the evidence pointed toward foul play rather than a routine disappearance. The abandoned Mazda soon became the central focus of an investigation that was rapidly becoming far more serious. Following Beth-Ellen Vinson's disappearance, investigators launched an extensive search to determine what had happened after she left her apartment during the early morning hours of August 16, 1994. Officers followed available leads, interviewed potential witnesses, and searched areas they believed might provide evidence. Difficult conditions complicated those efforts, as heavy rain and high temperatures affected the investigation throughout the following days. As time passed without any confirmed sightings, hopes of finding Beth-Ellen alive gradually diminished. Detectives continued examining every available clue while expanding their search into additional locations. Investigators also prepared to search a nearby creek, believing it was important to eliminate every possible area before reaching conclusions. Despite those continuing efforts, no evidence immediately revealed her whereabouts. On August 23, 1994, approximately 1 week after Beth-Ellen vanished, the search came to a tragic end. A businessman investigating complaints about a foul odor outside his workplace made a disturbing discovery. Hidden in a shallow ditch beneath flattened pieces of cardboard were Beth-Ellen's remains. Authorities quickly secured the location and began processing the scene as a homicide investigation. Because her body had undergone significant decomposition, officials advised Beth-Ellen's father that he would not be able to identify her remains through visual examination. The condition of the remains reflected the passage of time and the environmental conditions during the week she had been missing. Investigators determined that Beth-Ellen had been stabbed multiple times in what they described as a violent attack. The findings confirmed that her disappearance was the result of a homicide rather than a missing person case. For her family, the devastating news ended days of searching and uncertainty. Instead of welcoming Beth-Ellen home, they were forced to confront the reality that her life had ended under violent circumstances, leaving investigators with the difficult task of identifying the person responsible for her murder, detectives immediately began reconstructing Beth-Ellen Vinson's final movements, carefully examining every confirmed event from the hours before her disappearance. They reviewed physical evidence, compared witness accounts, and worked to establish a reliable timeline that could identify where her journey had changed unexpectedly. As the investigation developed, officers concluded that Beth-Ellen had likely struggled against her attacker before being overpowered. That assessment reflected the violent nature of the crime and suggested she had attempted to defend herself. Investigators concentrated much of their attention on the two people most closely connected to Beth-Ellen's final known plans. One was Rick Heath, the last person confirmed to have seen her alive before she left their apartment. The other was the motel client she had been scheduled to meet at the Innkeeper Motel. Detectives interviewed both men and examined their statements alongside other available evidence, attempting to determine whether either could explain what had happened after Beth-Ellen drove away. The investigation continued for months, as detectives interviewed witnesses across multiple states, reviewed countless statements, and executed search warrants in pursuit of additional evidence. Every new lead was compared against the established timeline, while investigators worked to separate confirmed facts from uncertain information. As those efforts progressed, detectives ultimately concluded that Beth-Ellen most likely never reached the motel where the appointment had been arranged. Police also evaluated possible motives behind the killing. Investigators determined that robbery appeared unlikely because Beth-Ellen possessed very little money or other valuables at the time of her disappearance. They likewise found no evidence indicating that the murder had been sexually motivated. With those possibilities becoming less convincing, detectives increasingly considered whether the attack had been driven by rage. Seeking assistance from the public, authorities announced a $6,000 reward on August 26, 1994, for information leading to progress in the investigation. When no breakthrough followed, the reward was increased to $12,000 on September 8. Detectives hoped the larger reward would encourage someone with important information to come forward and help move the investigation closer to identifying Beth-Ellen's killer. As the investigation continued, detectives devoted significant attention to Rick Heath, the last person known to have seen Beth-Ellen Vinson alive. Their focus was based on the circumstances surrounding the final hours before her disappearance, and several details that investigators believed required careful examination. Every aspect of his account was compared with the available evidence as detectives worked to reconstruct the timeline. One detail that attracted investigators' attention was Rick's unexpected arrival at the location where Beth-Ellen's abandoned white Mazda 6226 had been discovered. Police had already reached the used car dealership when he appeared and explained that he was searching for Beth-Ellen because she had not returned home. Detectives considered his arrival noteworthy because the dealership was not located along the route Beth-Ellen would normally have taken to reach the Innkeeper Motel, where she had planned to meet a client. Investigators also examined Rick's whereabouts during the early morning hours of August 16, 1994. According to the investigation, his roommates returned to the apartment at approximately 3 a.m., leaving Rick without a confirmed alibi for part of the period after Beth-Ellen had departed. Detectives reviewed this timeline alongside witness statements and other evidence while attempting to determine whether it had any connection to the crime. During the investigation, detectives learned that Beth-Ellen had recently experienced financial difficulties and may have been considering returning home to complete her final year of high school. Officers explored whether that information held any investigative significance, although they continued evaluating numerous other possibilities as well. Rick Heath later underwent a polygraph examination, which he reportedly failed. Even so, he consistently denied any involvement in Beth-Ellen's disappearance and murder. Over the years, investigators continued reviewing the case and later sought to pursue charges against him. However, prosecutors ultimately concluded that the available evidence was insufficient because no physical evidence directly connected Rick Heath to Beth-Ellen's murder. As a result, no prosecution moved forward, and the investigation continued without resolving the case. As the investigation continued, detectives considered two primary theories, supported by the available timeline. One focused on Rick Heath because he was the last known person to see Beth-Ellen Vinson before she left the apartment, and investigators questioned aspects of the events surrounding her disappearance. The other suggested Beth-Ellen encountered an unknown stranger while driving during the early morning hours. Investigators emphasized that the stranger theory required believing Beth-Ellen voluntarily stopped her vehicle, despite no apparent mechanical problem. Throughout the investigation, detectives repeatedly stressed that speculation could not replace evidence. Although multiple possibilities existed, they lacked fingerprints, DNA, or other physical evidence capable of identifying or successfully prosecuting a suspect. Without sufficient forensic proof, investigators faced significant challenges in building a case that could withstand legal scrutiny and ultimately produce a conviction. Years after Beth-Ellen Vinson's murder, investigators acknowledged that the case remained unsolved. Despite extensive interviews, search warrants, and years of investigative work, critical questions about her final movements and the identity of her killer remained unanswered. Uncertain timelines and the absence of conclusive physical evidence continued to prevent detectives from building a case capable of identifying and prosecuting the person responsible. Throughout the years, investigators repeatedly expressed their hope that the case could one day be resolved. Detectives wanted to provide Beth-Ellen's family with clear answers about what happened during the early morning hours of August 16, 1994, and determine who ended the life of a 17-year-old whose future had seemed filled with promise. For Beth-Ellen's family, the passage of time never erased their loss. They continued living with the absence of a daughter whose dream of becoming a professional dancer ended long before it could become reality. What began as concern over a missing loved one ultimately became decades of unanswered questions and lasting grief. Beth-Ellen Vinson's death marked the beginning of a lengthy homicide investigation that persisted despite significant investigative obstacles. Even after many years, the search for justice remained active in the hope that new information could finally explain what occurred. Detectives continued believing that someone might still possess important knowledge capable of resolving one of Raleigh's long-standing unsolved murder cases and providing Beth-Ellen's family with the answers they had sought for so many years.